Okay, so still good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing our session, which I think will resonate with everyone because eventually we will hopefully all age. It depends on which path will be our aging going, the healthy aging path or the cognitive decline path. So it actually, everything depends on us, on our habits and on our daily lifestyle. So I hope that after the session, you'll go out through these doors with a package of some self-reflections, what to improve, and how to do better, to live longer in better quality, because it's not only the matter of how long we live, but the quality of our life. So once again, thank you so much for choosing this session, and the data for cognitive health equity, shaping global data ecosystem for healthy aging. And my name is Alexandra Wolf, and I have the honor of serving as a secretary of the CoData task group on data-driven social change towards a society promoting cognitively healthy aging. And also, I'm a research scientist at the Riken Center for Advanced Intelligence Project Institute in Tokyo, Japan. And our session is led by Dr. Mihoko Otake-Matsuura, the team director.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Mihoko Otake. I'm a co-chair of Task Group Data-Driven Social Change towards Cognitive Healthy Society. And so, unfortunately, our chair, Professor Mike Martin from University of Zurich is not present here, but we represent our task group. And then so we hope our major output will be draft a recommendation and then open to public. So your input today and discussion may be reflected to the recommendation. And also if you are also interested in making a recommendation, and we are call for participation to work together. So if you're interested, so later we will introduce that, how to participate, and so let's keep on discussion to make a output together.
Perfect, thank you so much. So ultimately our aim is to reflect on the central question, how can data serve as a bridge towards cognitive health equity and help every society support healthy aging. So let me just give you a quick picture of our session today. So we'll be beginning with why cognitive health matters, setting the stage for why this topic is so urgent, and then we will look at the challenge, so aging, dementia, and the research gaps that exist across countries. And next comes the opportunity, so using cross-domain data that connects clinical, behavioral, social, and environmental perspectives. And we'll then learn from the Japanese Super Aging Society, so from us, from Dr. Otake-Matsuura, who will share her work on conversation-based interventions, and I'll introduce an eye-tracking approach for early detection. So finally, we'll move to the group discussions, where your ideas and insights will shape the future of this conversation. So let me start about cognitive decline, and it's one of the greatest public health challenges of the 21st century. And today we have 57 million people living with dementia, and each year we add nearly 10 million cases. And by the end of this session, thousands more families will face this reality with very unfortunate diagnosis. So the global response is hampered by significant disparities in how cognitive health data is collected, integrated, and used. So we live longer, but the quality of life doesn't always improve with age, and often financial security weakens, social isolation grows, and for many, memory and independence slipped away. So as our population age, we collect information about aging, and it looks very different across the world. So in high-income countries, for example, we have long-term studies called the cohorts, and they follow people for decades, collecting data on health, lifestyle, and even brain function. And these studies, like SHARE in Europe or JAGIS in Japan, help to understand what supports healthy aging and what predicts decline. So, but in low and middle income countries, such data are still missing. Health records are often incomplete, and there are few studies tracking older adults over time. So to really understand aging globally, we need to build local cohorts, share the know-how, and adapt existing research models so that they work in different cultural and economic contexts. Okay, so yeah, sadly, most dementia research is conducted in high-income countries, and even though only about 18% of the world's aging population lives there. So globally, around 57 million, as I said before, live with dementia, and over 60% of them reside in low and middle income countries. So projected prevalence here is shown on this graph of dementia cases if in low and middle income countries compared to high income countries. So the x-axis shows the year and the y-axis represents the number in millions. And the light purple is the high-income countries, and low and middle-income countries are in the darker purple. So it's an important challenge in addressing the impact of dementia in these regions is the underrepresentation of ethically and geographically diverse individuals in research studies. So as our population ages, we collect information about aging, and it looks very different in the world. So here, as I mentioned to you before, only the fraction of dementia clinical trials are conducted in low and middle income countries, limiting the participation of populations from these countries as well. So here, for example, Japan, we also have only a very small number of cohorts related to dementia, whereas we can compare to the United States. Or Europe as a whole. Also, a bibliographic analysis of dementia research shows that publication output is heavily concentrated in high-income countries as well. And this connects directly to Professor Otake's work on the Pickmore studies, where natural conversation are used to collect speech data. And speech is something that we all produce every day, and it carries rich cognitive and emotional information. These approaches show how every human interaction can be better understood and support healthy aging globally. And with no further ado, I'd like to invite Mihoko Otake-Matsuura for deliver this part of this speech. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ola, for the introduction and overview of our this session. And so this is Mihoko Otake-Matsuura, Team Director of Cognitive Behavior Assistive Technology Team, RICAN Center for Advanced Intelligence Project. So our center is established in 2016 to accelerate AI study. It's a national strategy to promote AI study, and our group, our team, our mission is to develop a kind of goal-oriented AI technology. And the term cognitive behavior assistive technology is a new term, combining the existing term cognitive behavior therapy and assistive technology, but not limited to the existing meaning of the term, but so literally. So we develop cognitive and behavioral assisting technology. And to develop CBAT, we promote cognitive health, and so helps prevent cognitive decline and dementia among older adults, conditions that can make daily life and social participation difficult. To develop technology for social activity intervention, and so our study is in the context of AI for social good. And so it has been found that social activity intervention may help to maintain cognitive function among healthy older adults. There are no global recommendations, at least up to today, because intervention studies are really limited. So it is, for one reason, it is difficult to do intervention of social interaction, because way of social activity and social interaction is really diverse. And so like dosing some medicine, so the conditions are almost same, But intervention of social activity is more, so not the same way or same manner if we make that social interaction as is or in a natural way. So, so the major reason is the lack of technology for generating cognitively, qualitatively and quantitatively consistent social interaction, and so necessary for cognitive intervention. And so in order to solve that problem, we developed a new technology to do qualitatively and quantitatively so consistent social activity. And so we named the name our intervention technology or method PICMORE program. And so verbal data serve as a sensitive and so dynamic proxy for the individual, and so for individual's cognitive state. And in PICMORE program, people in the first term, so for preparation, people take photos according to the assigned themes, like favorite foods or favorite things or anything. And then at the time of conversation, the participants talk and ask questions and answers using that photos. And after that, immediate and delayed so recall of the photos and talks. And so in this step-by-step approach, people can make use of cognitive functions which is expected to be used if they do interactive conversation. And so this is a kind of an analysis of the collected data that people do natural conversation, and at the same time we recorded the manner of conversation, and so acoustic data or linguistic data are analyzed after that, and we found that so MCI level, and so MCI level is a kind of people who have mild cognitive decline state, and so people with healthy cognitive state can be identified or detected through the analysis of verbal and nonverbal information, and so we can naturally detect cognitive decline through group conversation. So that's the findings and of our study, and so we developed a multiple way of intervention technology, and one as basic as a face-to-face group conversation on the left. But so this is the most intensive way of making use of cognitive functions to maintain functioning. But so COVID pandemic occurred in 2020, and until 2023 in Japan, it was almost prohibited to do group conversation, especially among older adults, because it's very dangerous if one of the people have some infectious disease and then distribute among them. So but before that, we have been developing a dialogue robot system in the middle to do self-training of intensive group conversation, particularly asking questions to the robot or listening to the robot's talk. And so another one is a remote communication technology that photos are shown on the smartphone app, and then so they can do group discussion online. And it was on the way before a pandemic, but after that, it is really necessary tool. It has become necessary tool to keep their interaction in daily life. So we accelerated our development to realize this PICMORE program on the web and so online. And then we did a randomized control trial of 3 different manners. And so up to now, we have succeeded in developing novel technologies that enable cognitive intervention through social activities in older adults with evidence, and novel technologies to predict cognitive functions from different modalities of behavioral and/or physiological data. and significance. So ours, healthy aging problem look like a problem for kind of high-income countries look like, but in reality, it's not. The population of low and middle-income countries of older adults also increases and more rapidly. And so the number of people with dementia is also expected to increase in a dramatical way. And so we have to, so if we do not do nothing about it, and then all the society globally suffer from helping people who have cognitive decline to maintain their living, and so it's it's a difficult problem. And so, but as mentioned, as Ola in the beginning, that if we change our lifestyle towards a cognitively healthy way, and if it's more become common, and then our society may change dramatically. So that's why we discuss on this topic. And so with this problem in mind, we proposed we launched a CODATA working group in 2021. And so the original task group name, working group name was Creative Living and Aging Through Cross-Disciplinary Utilization of Data. And at that time, our scope not limited to cognitive, but health care as a whole, and then discuss, so focus on which topic to be discussed more. And then so we discussed and then focus on maintaining cognitive functions throughout the lifespan. It has been a focus through the discussion. And especially how can cognition be understood from various data sources is a kind of one of the topic from data. And so it is becoming more and more active in this context, because the technology for speech and so speech detection and also, as you know, many generative AI, generate really condensed data in a really simple way. And so many people, originally this study was really rare, especially in 2021. But at this time, so 2025, and so many people, so medical doctors also, really focusing on the data, and especially speech data, to be analyzed or to detect cognitive decline. But still, intervention is not studied so much. Because conversation intervention is still not easy so maybe our technology may be more and more distributed to other people and used and utilized, and hope we can collect conversational data, and then so we can understand and detect easily in a daily life. But in CODATA workshop, we did a workshop under the working group, and so technology aiding seniors at risk of dementia to reach their goals. And so we discussed how to use sensor systems and digitalization to identify goals and values and of senior citizens at risk of dementia, and new technology to improve patient-centered outcomes of those at risk of dementia. And then discussion topics of the workshop has been data requirements for use for AI and acceptance of technology. How can we estimate value, reason to value? Yeah, so not only maintaining cognitive functions, the more important thing is to a kind of a purpose in life and such topics that if they have motivation to live, and then they can maintain cognitive functions much more without any values for life. And so how can we support to pursue the purpose in life is also a kind of scope of this study. And so can combining multiple data sources gives us more information and knowledge is a kind of, for example, we have not yet published, but we are also analyzing the purpose in life through conversational data. And so such technology can be also developed to support such goals as well as cognitive functions. And so combining multiple data sources gives us more information and knowledge. And so we have several new findings about this topic. And one is, so we can estimate brain status associated with vocabulary richness. And so through conversational data, we can estimate the vocabulary size of each speakers. And so the number of words versus kinds of words. And then we plot the number of words and kinds of words. And then the people who have less vocabulary size saturate earlier because even they talk a lot, but the kinds of words do not increase because their limited vocabulary size, they use only the limited number of words. And so in this way, we can estimate vocabulary size through the curve of conversational data. And we found that we can fit the curve with only one parameter, beta, and for Hipp's law. And then so we found, and the beta is associated with some brain regions. So this means that if we analyze conversational data and vocabulary size to estimate, and then we can also estimate the brain status associated with such functioning. And so without doing MRI, so it's more costly way of analysis, but rather just analyzing conversational data, we can estimate brain status. And also, we had found another issues on time orientations of older adults in group conversation and their association with memory functioning. And as you know that, so people with dementia, I'm not sure whether you have experience talking with dementia people, but it is difficult for them to talk about recent topics because they cannot remember or memorize new things. And as a result, they can talk past experiences and stories. So they can still talk about their childhood or youngerhood, even though they have a dementia. And because they could memorize at that age and also still remember. So if the dementia progresses before, so early stage they can recall, and so later stage they cannot recall anymore. But this means that so if we analyze the conversational data and people talk about only past, and they might have a risk of less functioning of memorizing functions, so that they cannot talk about recent topics. And of course, it's not only functional reason, but for example, they do not are interested in recent topics, and they not talk about it. So there are different factors, but in general, so people who have less cognitive functioning or memory functioning tend to talk about past. And so it was empirical knowledge, but we did kind of an analysis of time orientation of conversational data, and we found that ataraxis has mixed, and so people who have higher memorizing functioning tend to talk more about recent topics. And also mixture of knowledge and experience or past. So their expression was more rich compared to people with cognitive decline. And so this was really kind of which is intuitively it was known, but with data we could find that so people who talk about recent topics have higher memory functioning. So, and then we proposed a CogData task group in 2003. So every 2 years, CogData have a chance to propose task group. And so this is so after working group, we proposed a task group in 2003. And so data-driven social change towards society promoting cognitively healthy aging. So this is a topic of today's session. And so our primary goal is to draft a recommendation, and then you know to realize that recommendation, and then so you're active in participation to this topic discussion, and that's why we are providing our latest findings as well as the background of this topic. And so, and identify valuable data types, and also setting priorities to the policy, and so future recommendations. And so so now we are doing a survey, online survey, and so so it's a very simple one, and so Google form, and so please scan this QR code. And so some of them already, so participated in this QR code, but from today, we really call for input for this survey, and so this will be reflected to recommendation, and so your opinions and ideas to realize data-driven social change towards society promoting community healthy aging. And so we have also a flyer with this QR code. So we have so enough number to give you all, and so I will distribute later. Yeah, and so from QLA at this moment, we have much information already. And so if you have any questions, yeah, please. Or may so go on to the next topics of question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give me a moment. Perfect.
Kia ora, Catherine Barrega from University of Otago. You're saying that now this sort of research is really common in 2025. Are you doing? Are you sharing the data across not just within Japan but in other cultures? I'm interested in whether culture has an effect on this and whether there is interest from other countries, Asian countries, or I don't know. Is that a rich environment where there's a lot of data sharing?
Yeah, so that's a very good point. So we are preparing for open data to, for example, anonymatizing somehow, because conversational data includes personal information sometimes. So we try to remove that point and then to share. So it's also still on the way, but we have such data. And actually, so there are different research contexts that a corpus study, it's done by linguistic researchers. And so aside from cognitive functioning, just language data has a big, data source already. But it's not connected to cognitive functioning data. So, such data is not publicly available. And also it's very sensitive. If it's so connected to cognitive function data, and then so we have to be more careful about language data as well, as to remove, for example, personal information. Yeah, but so aside from that, so language data is already publicly available and with a long history. And also cognitive function independently, and there's another data set, it's open data set, like the famous one is, for example, UK Biobank, and also some, so for example, health and retirement study in the US, and such, so cognitive function data, or ADNI, which are Alzheimer's research data, and with brain imaging, MRI, and cognitive function data, and so such open data set is also available. So it's all of them are independently open, and so in a different context. So maybe it's important to connect, connection data, and to do some cross-disciplinary and multimodal study. And so we are now planning to anonymatize independently and make it open source, and people who give us contact to do some careful use of how to connect, so which ID and that ID are connected with each other. And then, so that's the idea. Yeah, thank you very much.
I agree with, I'm Narinder Mehra, and I'm the chair of the National Committee on Core-Data in India. I agree with you, and I'm from the health background, so I deal with, not me, but my colleagues deal with dementia and Alzheimer's disease from time to time, and we do hold, there was this Alzheimer's Day a few months ago, and we organized, the lectures and all that in the parks and for the common man to make them understand about the problems of Alzheimer's disease. And I agree with you, there is a generalized inequity in data from LMICs, from the HIC, so there is a need to raise similar data from the LMIC. I wanted to understand what is your concept? Are you looking at data from LMIC's certain countries? I mean, have collaboration with them, gather data from the neurologists, gather data from the neuroradiologists about the the brain and the structure and the size that varies from healthy to the to those who go on to develop dementia, and compare that amongst the population groups, and then develop a model that you're talking about in terms of helping these people to have a cognitive response. So I wanted to just understand from your way of developing this whole questionnaire and the cooperation amongst the various centers in the around the world.
Yeah, so one direction would be to, so we did many intensive study with a limited number of data sets in Japan, but for more global, and so it's related to the first question, that social difference, cultural difference, and then so how about collecting conversational data with cognitive functioning or other modality data in each countries, and then we can make clear the overview of all languages or all cultures of the cognitive decline, and also help promoting the maintaining or cognitive health through conversation. And so that's a kind of more future perspective. But because language is linguistic ability is a key to maintain, which is also studied in another studies, and so it's known. But still, how to improve linguistic ability as well as to maintain cognitive health is not under question. So for example, how about using smartphone app to collect conversational data or just speech data in all over the world? And then how to help get some cognitive functioning data through such app. And then we can see any languages and any cultures, and from different age groups. Maybe not only older adults, but maybe we need another, for example, for reference healthy younger people, generations data as well. And so such data is still limited for most of the all countries all over the world. And that's another. And so it's a really data driven. Or co-data like IDW-like perspective. So cognitive scientists not necessarily interested in global perspective of the distribution of cognitive function or linguistic abilities and as a whole. So that's why in the platform called IDW we discuss this topic in a more global sense.
More often we see that there is problem is of the recent memory. The people at 60 or 70 plus of age, they lose their recent memory. They won't remember the food that they ate in the breakfast time or the lunch time, but their past memories are very correct. A past memory could be 1 month away, 1 month old, and that recent memory goes bad.
Yeah.
And that's our observation, and I think that is true of across the populations around the world.
Yeah, so difference in which function declines earlier or quicker, and which function are maintained in a reasonable way. So linguistic abilities improve until the very end of life, the 60s and 70s, which is known. But for example, processing speed declines because our physiological state, with aging. And then such speed or but reasoning are maintained in a modest manner and not decline so quickly. So such diverse way of changing of cognitive abilities and sub-functioning is another issue. How to compensate the decline with not declined cognitive functioning, and successful aging people successful in compensation rather than stopping all the decline. So that's also another interest, and in different cultures whether so they have maintaining in India or in Africa, and people who are living with cognitive
The
health.
problem is that we need very strong data. These people who lose their recent memory, it's very difficult to convince them.
Yeah.
But if there is a strong data to indicate, and what can be done to sort of stop that, you can't cure it, but you can stop it. So you said about social interactions and things of that sort, or maybe they engage themselves in some kind of paintings, or something where the brain acts actually. And we've seen that this problem comes up more in people who work all their life, and suddenly after retirement, they sort of stop their work and now take the
Decline,
mobile phone on their hand or a remote, and that's how their memory tends to go down over a period of time. So the need is to engage them through social interactions or some things that they must keep doing.
Such mechanism is social structure of socially engaging environment is they really typical, really important. And actually, so becoming a health provider of cognitive health, and others themselves become such a kind of action unit, and then they may be engaged in a social. So maybe making new role in society is another. And so one option is that for promoting health together. And so that's another way of achieving such goals. So thank you very much for important point. And so after that, so Ola may provide a more diverse way of achieving this goal, like environmental way as well as personal way and so on. Thank you very much. So let's this show
move on.
The broader perspective of solving this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so here I am again. Again, my name is Alexandra Wolf, but also the shortcut is Ola. So Otake-sensei, Dr. Otake was using the name Ola, but I'm Polish, so every Alexandra in Poland is Ola, like hello in Spanish. So you can greet me and say my name at the same time. Yes, it's very convenient. I really hope that this presentation of visualizing cognition and data insights from eye tracking research in aging will bloom in some new ideas, and allow me to start with a very brief overview of what have sparked my interest in the field of eye tracking. So during my PhD course and postdoctoral activities, I have used behavioral paradigms supported by eye tracking technology to investigate gaze among healthy populations. And at that time, it struck me that the use of eye tracking in the clinical context has not been used much, especially in populations such as schizophrenia and autism. So during my JSPS postdoctoral study, I focused on visual behavior among patients with schizophrenia and healthy controls. And now at RIKEN AIP, I focus on gaze patterns among older adults with early onset of mild cognitive impairment. So the trend is really moving on to eye tracking, and I'm really happy to see it, but it goes very slow, although eye tracking has potential diagnostic tool, definitely. Here you can just see, this is from schizophrenia studies, but just to give you a glimpse of the gaze and the gaze patterns that happen if we, for example, compare patients with schizophrenia and healthy controls. So, for example, with the free viewing task on the left, we can see that patients with schizophrenia have very, let's say, local visual scanning patterns. So they do not explore the images as healthy controls would do. They would just do very small fixations, very small saccades, and not see the picture as global as, for example, healthy controls. Here, for example, with the fixation stability task, just to give you an understanding what is this task about. So we have a fixation queue. I'll just explain it on the healthy control example because it's kind of like the perfect one. We have the fixation queue here on the right side, and we kindly ask the participants to look at the fixation dot, and then there will be a distractor either on the left or on the right side. So for example here, and for healthy controls, they maintain the fixation on the cue, on the fixation point. Whereas patients with schizophrenia, for example, they fixate on the fixation dot, but then when there is a distractor cue, the eyes immediately go to the distractor cue. So the saccades towards the distractor cue, they cannot be suppressed in terms for patients with schizophrenia. So personally, I find this very insightful to have a look into one's gaze. And now, just moving to the topic of dementia, it has definitely huge social and economic implications, especially by the informal care costs and the direct medical care costs. So it's by 2030, we'll have around $2.8 trillion that would cost us dementia, and 50% of the costs are informal. So by the caregivers, the families that really face emotional frustration and financial problems. So this is a really huge global challenge. And with the increase in the number of patients of dementia, the World Health Organization proposed the Global Action Plan on the Public Response to Dementia, and it included the Action Plan Dementia Diagnosis and Treatment and Care. However, I just want you to remember that diagnosing dementia is actually another challenge. So here, by clinicians, they reported that like 70% of them reported that difficulty in differentiating MCI from normal aging is like the biggest problem that they are experiencing in the whole diagnosis process. So such differentiation is really the biggest challenge. And now let us have a very brief backstage look at how the diagnosis procedure, which causes delay in reaching with the dementia diagnosis, that may take like up to like 4 to 6 months, even longer. So it's really a very long time for a diagnosis to be stated. So as we know, as probably you know, there is no simple test for dementia. Instead, the health professionals, they start with some physical examinations, such as blood, of course, family reviews of the history of the customer. I'll not say a patient, but medical customer, and of course performing neurophysiological pen and paper tests. And this is not only one test, but there can be several different tests, all of them taking from 20 minutes to 45 minutes. It, of course, creates some extra stress on the participant. So this process of diagnosis often involves ruling out other conditions, such as substance use, for example, depression or schizophrenia, that can produce very similar symptoms, actually, to mild cognitive impairment in the very beginning of the start of mild cognitive impairment. So there are limitations of the traditionally used pen and paper screening tools. For example, the experience of the specialized doctors plays a significant role. Also, the type of a screening tool that they use, they might affect. So we have, for example, a MOCA test or mini-mental state examination, the MMSC. So depending on which test they are using, the understanding and the speed of the diagnosis may be also influenced. Also, besides being time-consuming, pen and paper tests can be very stressful and tiresome to older adults. And finally, since writing and drawing are sometimes required in the portion of mentioned tests, the results of these tests can be affected by motor impairments, such as post-stroke paralysis or patients with Parkinson's. So they may not be able to actually finalize or to perform these drawing parts, which, relate to the final score of these tests. So they will immediately score lower, although they may not have mild cognitive impairment. So traditional pen and paper tests are not sufficient for routine screening for mild cognitive impairment and dementia, and there is a need for reliable biomarkers in the assessment of the onset of dementia. And they are, for example, the non-invasive. I mean, the ideal biomarkers would be non-invasive, rapid, objective, and relatively inexpensive. And I see that eye tracking checks them all, kind of, as from the list as a future biomarker. And what is the onset? So please just pay attention to this illustrative course of Alzheimer's disease. So physiological changes such as accumulation of amyloid protein deposits and subsequent disruptions in synaptic transmissions result in cognitive deficits, such as impairments of memory, attention, visual perception, and information processing, which are typically present and of moderate severity in the beginning of the course of the illness. So these symptoms have they were very well documented in the past. However, the question of healthy aging and unhealthy aging still remains. So where is the line and where is the border between the healthy aging and MCI? So also it is known that when individuals are questioned about their health condition, they might be inclined to answer according to what is expected from them. This is very common to see. So therefore, the presence of a non-invasive and highly accurate method, which is eye tracking, can overcome the limitations and of subjective reports and effectively support the diagnosis procedure. Due to the time, I don't want to get very deep into the history of suitable methods and experiments that have been performed in the past, but just to give you a glimpse of previously how an eye tracker may look like. So this was a very invasive method. We are not there anymore. We have now accessible state-of-the-art eye tracking devices that do not cause any harm to a human eye. But for example, I don't know if you're if you know the study of Alfred Jarbus, the eye movements and vision. So, for example, he was one of the pioneers of eye tracking as well. He showed to participants, let's say not clinical, because at that time no one was really doing any studies with clinical population, just let's say healthy or claimed as healthy, we don't know. But he was showing a painting of the unexpected visitor, and he was asking a participant several questions. So for example, I'll just ask you, can you tell me the social status of the family? So I can just, sorry, I don't have any eye tracker with me, but I can imagine that your gaze would just go around the furniture, the paintings, the clothes of the people to get some extra information about their social status. If I would ask you about the age of the people represented in the picture, then probably I assume you would focus on their face, their features, how many wrinkles, or what do they wear? So our gaze changes depending on the instructions given, which is a really amazing feature for eye tracking study. So here, for example, are the gaze representations. For example, estimate how long the visitor had been away from the family. Or remember the position of people and objects in the room. So we can see that the gaze trajectory changes by the task of the topic. So currently we are, something is not showing, okay. So currently researchers are combining tasks to have a little bit more information. Earlier we were focusing on Sagat task or a smooth pursued eye movement task or a visual pair comparison. So we were taking these tasks as, let's say, single separated tasks. But now what researchers do in the past, let's say 5 years, they are combining these tasks to have more information about how the behavior of the gaze changes within the task and if we combine them as a whole. So for example, here there's one example, and I would like to ask you to remember what the bear eats in the very first, I hope you can see. Remember what the bear eats. You don't have to say it out loud, just focus what the bear chose. Later it will be revealed why it is important. So here is a example of the combination of different eye movement tests that later on would give a score and classify if the person would be mild cognitive impairment or healthy. And here, if I can ask you again to focus on which item the bear chose. So here you can see the illustration of the gaze point in this memory recall task. Of course, it doesn't mean anything to you because it was a very short, let's say, time frame between the time that I showed you the picture and the outcome. But just to give you a glimpse of the patterns among normal controls, here in blue, I think I use the laser. Normal controls in blue, mild cognitive impairment in green. So they were considering other options like tomatoes or fish, for example, and Alzheimer's disease in red, where the distribution of the gaze points and fixations was totally all over the place. And here we have another task. If I can ask you to focus on the odd one. So which one is the odd one? Yes, and here we have again the illustration of gaze points in this deductive reasoning task with the same color representation with normal control, mild cognitive impairment in green, and Alzheimer's disease in red. So for people with Alzheimer's disease and mild cognitive impairment, the total gaze time of regions of interest was or is significantly shorter compared to healthy controls. And the number of fixation usually that we focus on is usually lower among people with Alzheimer's disease and mild cognitive impairment. Hence, the novelty preference has been highlighted as a robust marker for cognitive impairment. So these tests that I showed you, they are very nice, but sadly, they are not very well designed for early mild cognitive impairment. These tests that I showed you are mostly targeting people who are already diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. But this is the problem that we are now facing, that we would like to have more information about the gaze, about people that are before the diagnosis of the mild cognitive impairment, because as I said, the mild cognitive impairment is a diagnosis that also takes time. So we would like to know as early as possible who may be in this group that may develop mild cognitive impairment in the future, so that the cognitive behavioral therapy can be already used to them, or for example some special very small medication can be applied to this group. So that's why currently we are performing a little bit more complex task at Triken, and we are focusing on such like shopping task, liking task, and memory recall task to gather more information about the stage before mild cognitive impairment. So, as I said, eye tracking generates a very big interest as a diagnostic tool. And of course, the data collection may provide more information on gaze behavior among mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease patients, as well as state the difference between MCI subtypes, because not every mild cognitive impairment person will develop Alzheimer's disease. Usually it's the amnesic MCI elderlies that will develop Alzheimer's disease, so amnesic MCI. And there is also another mild cognitive impairment stage, which is the non-amnesic. And this one is, their memory is, for example, very well intact, but other cognitive functions are slowed down. So with the last slide, I would like to thank you for your attention. And of course, we'll be here to connect with you and answer any other questions also after the session. And yeah, I think we can move on to the world table. So yeah, the tree of aging. So let's plant an idea that will like form the new recommendations. And I would like you to see a very short clip to have some nourishment for your thoughts that will help you to engage with the topics that we prepared for the world table. So I will move to the short clip. So I hope you're ready.
When it comes to aging, we can learn a lot from nature. Consider a tree. As it grows, its rings expand outwards, telling the years gone by. But those rings tell more than just time. If you look between the lines, you will also see how the tree's habitat and living conditions have impacted its life. The healthier the ecosystem, the more it will have thrived. We humans are no different. As we age, our physical and social environment provide us with vital resources, access to healthcare and proper nutrition, opportunities in education and employment. Safe housing and supportive communities become the roots that nourish our development and well-being. So what happens when we grow older if our environment does not sustain us? Just like a tree, our health declines and we struggle to flourish. Over time, we may become disconnected and a burden to others.
This was the United Nations video, which I found very well for our world table, the tree of cognitively healthy aging. And actually, since we have a very well-numbered group, our first thought was to divide you all into a few groups, but actually if maybe, yeah, if it's possible, we can just have one group and just gather the information from you from each of the 5 topics that we prepared. So the first one would be the food and cognitive health across regions. So the question is, how do traditional diets and food quality affect brain health across generations? And here, this is just an example. For every topic, we have one example to just make you more connected to it. So for example, yeah, as I said, I'm from Poland, and in Poland, for example, the fermented products like kefir or buttermilk are very common, and research have found that fermented foods improve the gut microbiome, which in turn strengthens the brain-gut connection, a pathway increasingly linked to cognitive resilience and healthy aging. So this is just an example from my, let's say, background. And I'll be very happy if, of course, you can scan the QR code and answer the question in the form, but it would be amazing if you could share with us your idea about, as I said, if you had to recommend one health or food habit from your culture that supports health aging, what would it be and why? So if you have any thoughts, of course, if you prefer to use it the Google form, or if you would like to connect to yourself. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
So I'm a vegetarian, so this is irrelevant to my life. But I have this thought that refrigeration was not a good thing, because even if cultures didn't have fermented foods per se, things were not that fresh, or they ate very fresh, or things were slightly naturally fermented. But I come from Peru, and in Peru, one of our national dishes is raw fish. And I wonder if that was one of the things that keeps people healthy. Of course, Peru is now a modern country and people eat lots of rubbish, but traditionally it would have been, beans and rice and raw fish.
Thank you so much. In Japan, we also have lots of raw fish, but also it is, let's say, a huge issue with pathogens that are from the raw fish. So actually, yeah, it's very interesting to see that it can be seen as a very healthy food, but from the microbiological point of view, it can be an infestation of some problems that we intake. But yeah, definitely, that's why the mastering of how the fish is being prepared, I think this is also a very huge matter and important issue. So yeah, thank you so much for this point. I definitely noted that. If there is any other person that would like to share from their own background, yes? Thank you.
It's not my background per se, because that's not my country of origin, but I would love to hand this over to my Indian colleague sitting 2 rows in front of me, who knows probably much better. Ah, yes, of course. So my name is Cyrus Walter, and I'm with the CoData Executive Committee, and I'm working for the early careers there. And my background is actually that I'm from Germany, and I'm a physicist. So I have less to do with cognition, and German food culture is not what I wanted to discuss, because the point I thought about when it comes to healthy food, in my perspective, is a lot of spices. And Germany is the wrong country to talk about spices. But I know my Indian colleague is sitting 2 rows in front of me, and I know the Indian culture has a lot of spices. And from my personal perspective, having a variety of spices in your food is really nourishing to your health, and also to the way on how you perceive the food. If you have very blunt food every day, that might be perceived as very boring, but food is actually a very exciting thing for me, and that to some extent is more towards the spices. And probably other people in this room can talk much more about the healthiness of spices in their food than I do.
Actually, I have
Thank
a
you so much.
question on whether may I take a picture of you while discussion, because we may write a report. And so if you don't want to be your face, and then please let me know, and I will not take. But Cyrus, he should be necessarily, he says, okay, so I took a picture of him now. But from now, with other speakers, so discussants who give your talk, and I would like to take a photo of that. So while they are discussing, and is it okay? Please tell me no if you or no, so I may not take you. So I will approach you and then take a picture if you can give your comments from now on, and then so please let me know if you or no. Yeah.
We care about your privacy, of course. Thank you so much. About the German, I thought actually about sauerkraut, the fermented cabbage. That's like another fermented food, because we have a very similar dish in Poland. But this would be the first thing that I thought about Germany would be not sausage, but yeah, the fermented cabbage.
Yeah, so fermented things is good for a kind of digestion. And then so goo and brain are also interconnected with each other. So fermented foods in general is really good for health, especially for brain as well. And so in our culture, natto, fermented beans, and it's also good for health, which is known, and especially for brain health as well. So each country has fermented food, I think, and also spices as well. So yeah, so thank you very much for the comment points. And also, whether it's enjoyable or not is also another issue. Yeah, so joy may release the stress. And stress is also another factor of, harming our health. So if we enjoy and having food with others or dishes with others is another issues to maintain health and especially cognitive health. So it is also strongly recommended to have dinner or lunch together, and especially people living alone, and so to get together in a certain place and to have lunch meals together. So there are many aspects of just food, but how the manner of having food and so on. So that's another point.
Yeah,
Thank you very
nicely
much.
said. Thank you. So yeah, if we don't have any other insights, I would like to. Yes, we have. So I'll just move on to designing age-friendly cities. So cities can help or hinder cognitive health through design. So here, for example, I don't know, do we have anyone from Singapore? No? Okay. Have you been to Singapore? Anyone? Okay, great. So maybe you know about this district in Singapore. It's often, I mean, Singapore as a whole, it's often called as a model age-friendly city with, country, and with city, yeah, and with its districts, right, with barrier-free public transportation, and there is. One special dementia Singapore project that is, I think they started 2-3 years ago. And they try to promote it to people living with mild cognitive impairment and with dementia and their families. And they provide housing with especially like colored blocks. Oh, wait, I'll use the laser. With colored blocks so that people will have the way finding easier, or for example with informations about where to go, which the signs are really big and very clear, and usually they try to not overload the people living there with too many colors, because this would be also very confusing. So they try to use up to 3 colors, red, blue and green, to navigate people around this district, this community, for easy way finding. Of course, you can scan the QR code to learn more about the project. I found it really interesting to go there to see how the people live there, how they engage with each other. It was really very insightful. So this is one idea from the urban side, and another is running communities or clubs where older adults join activities like crafts, language lessons, memory training and workshops, and some intergenerational exchanges. So these hubs, let's say, foster lifelong learning, social connection and cognitive well-being. And this is just one example of a club, elderly club from Poland, from Warsaw, where before I came to Japan, I was a volunteer there, and I was also helping them with lots of activities, especially in photography or in handcrafts. So such, yes, we have a comment or question. One moment. I'm coming with the mic. Yes, here you are. Thank you.
You mentioned about the community clubs and all. You know, we have, in India also the aging population is increasing. You know, the average age has really increased remarkably in the last 10 years. So now we have in various cities of India what we call laughter clubs. You know, where people meet, aged people meet, and they do exercises, collective exercises, and laugh a lot, singing songs and all. I think that also helps a lot. And we have seen the laughter club, people are very happy. It's just about 1 hour of laughter and exercises, and collectively they sort of sit together, have a cup of coffee, tea, and exchange their views and all. So those kind of things really help a lot. And I go for a morning walk near my house, and there on Sundays I see the park is full of 2 or 3 laughter clubs, where the aged people actually are together, and they're really enjoying. And on Sundays, even in the afternoons, they have some singing sessions and all that. I think all of these things help a lot for the aged people.
Definitely, thank you. To be honest, I never heard about these laughter clubs. And usually, are they in the morning or in the afternoon, in the evening? Like people who work, for example, can they join, or is it usually, let's say, for retired people?
In the morning, and you know, I and my wife also join them on Sundays. You know, we want to understand how they do it, and we find this is a fantastic way of social interaction. You have stressed the point on social interactions, and I feel that these people with certain degree of Alzheimer's or the dementia of course is a broad term, but Alzheimer's where your recent memory actually goes away, but the past memory is intact. And these people are very happy.
Yeah, the quality of life
in that
definitely
1.5
improves.
hour of laughter club togetherness.
So is it like done by the community, or like is there a program accessible for the people so that they know when will be?
Yeah, this is a community drive. You know, some people in the community come forward, but now there are laughter clubs everywhere. I mean, I'm from Delhi and you know, the NCR, and there I find the number of laughter clubs are increasing.
Perfect. Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Again, thank you so much for sharing. So whenever we go to India, like Delhi, right, and we hear people laughing around us, that will be a good sign. And now we understand what's happening, and we should join, because definitely intercultural, you know, communication, that would be also very insightful to experience. So thank you. You kind of like answered the question. Because I wanted to ask, what's one change in your city or neighborhood that would make life easier or more engaging for older adults? So now we remember we should establish laughter clubs wherever we go back to our cities. Is there any other idea or insight that you would like to share with us? Okay, thank you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Julia German. I'm from Germany. And I know that there are also, similarly to these laughter clubs, there are locally organized clubs where people meet, but also retired people usually, or people in the final stages of their career shortly before retirement. And these are usually organized by the cities or by local governments, or the community of the city. So it's not a central effort in Germany that organizes these, as far as I know, but I know of certain local clubs where also elderly people that I personally know found new friends with similar interests, and I think that helps a lot after retirement when you don't have the usual connection, the usual contact to your colleagues, that you have some other peers to spend your time with.
Yeah, I think the importance of local community is really here very important, because we cannot wait for, let's say, government, like the above us, the big one, to impose, let's say, on us the program, what we should do, what each district should do. But it's more important to think and to find those people who drive the change of engaging with the local communities, and to establish such platforms for, like laughter clubs, community clubs that broaden the perspective of the elderlies to improve their lifestyle, quality of life, make their life happier. Yeah, of course, this is a very big issue here, and there is one comment. So
I can also. Yeah.
In continuation of her observation, I wanted to make a point. I think it's very important, and Mihoko showed us a chart that the number of people with dementia or Alzheimer's is increasing.
Definitely.
But this is increasing in the cities and towns, big cities and towns. In the rural side, it is not, because the quality of life in rural side is very different from the towns. In the city, in the village side, in the
may I make a digression
older
here?
people meet in the evening, they sit together. The community living is more important over there. In big cities now, everybody is becoming their own. I mean, you don't even know your neighbor because you're so much engrossed in your own day-to-day life. This is what is increasing.
That's definitely an
This is the
aspect.
cause of increase of Alzheimer's now, because people are confined to their own rooms. They, their only companion is either a YouTube or a television. There, human contact is decreasing in these cities and towns, whereas it is not the case in the rural side.
That's true. However, I would say that we also lack data from rural sites, because definitely we have Alzheimer's cases there as well, or mild cognitive impairment there as well. So it's not that it omits villages. I wouldn't go that way, but definitely I agree definitely here with you on the importance of social interaction, yes, human interaction, and how it may slow down the cognitive decline, because we are in contact with people with whom we meet and talk and discuss, and this is very present in rural areas, yes. And here we have another comment. Thank you so much, Otake-sensei. Sorry.
I just wanted to say that I think intergenerational relationships are really important, and I think there's a lot we can learn from central countries. Like, I came across a study, I think it was in Denmark, where their students are living with elderly people, and that takes care. I mean, there is so much richness that can be shared. We can learn from young people and vice versa, and it gives older people a sense of purpose, and cheaper rent for young students. So I think whatever solution different cities and countries have, where no group is isolated, so no young mums with babies are isolated and they don't have a community, and no elderly people is isolated, and no students, because students could move to a different city and suddenly they don't have their parents around, but they can still have adults that support them, and that could be a positive way of improving everybody's well-being.
Mm-hmm. We have such initiative in Japan that pairs older adults that live alone for various reasons with university students. And they don't share a flat, because in Japan we really like our privacy, but the neighbor would be the elderly, and the other neighbor would be the student. So, and the student, like the student's duties would be to knock at the door in the morning and in the evening, and to ask, how are you? Is everything fine? Do you need any help? Shall I bring you some groceries? Shall we walk together, for example? So there are some duties that come with renting such apartment, but the not cultural, but generation connection really plays a huge role there, with older adults being utterly happy to hear the knock at their door, to being asked if they need any help. So such little things are, I think, very important to kind of transfer to our communities to also make a change with this direction. So thank you so much for bringing this comment.
Yeah, so in terms of equity, the difference between each city's environment is really crucial. And so we have also studied that each town, or town level or city level difference, and then so the urbanization as well as modernization and its balance is very important. Even people living in rural area, but in a very modernized way, and then community is already lost. But some rural environment, they are living more traditional way of living, and then they have still keeping community or local community. So it depends on the city whether they are much modernized or they are rural or urban, and they have community or not, and so we have so we need to see the balance. And so new way of community, like interest-based community, for example. So like we have an interest group, and so many different people get together with a common interest or goal, and that's another way of making community. And especially for urbanized area, people do not like local community anymore sometimes, and then they more prefer interest-based community, and then we need to design such or intergenerational community in an artificial way sometimes. Yeah, so that's another, so there are many options to build some suitable community. And so that's a kind of points for designing cities and so for towns or and then one interesting data of a Japanese city that is a sample of Kashiwa, which is located my previous lab in the campus. And so that city, the difference between the healthy age and life expectancy, and healthy life expectancy and life expectancy are different usually. And in Japan, 10 years difference. So people lose their health at the age of 75 in general, on the average, and they live until 85. And with some health problems. This is the average. But in Kashiwa City, the gap is only 3 years. So it's amazing data I heard from the local government officer, because Kashiwa City, there are many universities there, and they do many social experiments. And some of the researchers do frail study, and then many frail supporters are there. And so older adults do the activities to prevent frail. And so do exercise and food and oral frail to prevent, and other kinds of exercise activities or social communication activities and any kinds are available. And then so they are really conscious about aging and health aging. And as a result, only 3 years gaps. In Japan, as a total, 10 years. So it's really diverse with place to place and city to city. So we have a really successful data that we can shorten the difference between health age expectancy and life expectancy to 3 years. So if we can learn from them, and then we might be able to make it shorter and shorter. And so that's why we propose, and also equity is a kind of a topic for today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
So
let's go on to the three.
Yes. So if any one of you would like to share more about designing healthy cities and didn't want to or was too shy to speak up, you can also scan the QR code in relation to the designing healthy cities. And then I'll just move to the next topic. It would be the technology and trust. And here to wrap up like a little bit faster, I'll just move to the question. Would you be comfortable sharing personal data like sleep, activity, or memory patterns if it means early detection of cognitive decline? So
raise our hands, and so whether
if
your data.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you yourself.
Yeah, of course. We're asking
do you want to share
personal.
the biological or physiological data, and it might be used to detect a cognitive decline. Yeah,
we will not perform any experiments now. It just
no.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Your personal opinion,
it's just for now theoretical. Later, maybe we will approach you and talk in details. No, joking. But it's really your personal opinion because it's very important to know not only that the data help us as researchers to improve the lifestyle and of course decrease the prevalence of dementia, but also the important fact here or issue here is the population. Would you be willing to share the data at the end? Because without the consensus here, our work would be, I'll not say for nothing, but really delayed, and the approach of you, of us, right, in this ethical regard, it's really a very important fact to talk about. So if there is anyone who would be willing to share with us, or of course you can again scan the QR code and reply to this question through the Google form. It's also perfectly fine, no problem. But is there anyone? Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
So ideas.
Great.
I think in general terms, I think I'm the daughter of someone that died of Alzheimer's, and I'm the granddaughter of someone that died of Alzheimer's, so I'm very invested in knowing about this and anything I can do. The only proviso would be in general terms where the data is going to reside. So I live in New Zealand. Quite often our data ends up in Australia, but with American systems. So, and I'm an information person, so it kind of gets a bit convoluted. So that's one of the things that is an area of concern. But the other area of concern would be about, you're talking about wearables. I want to sleep well. I don't want to sleep uncomfortably. So if the technology is well, so it doesn't interfere with my well-being, that would be a positive thing for me to do in my life.
Yeah, so there are the needs for want to monitor their parents and grandparents from the side of children or grandchildren. So that's another need. And they want to know whether they have some problem, and we would like to know as much as possible. But from the grandparent side, they don't want to be detected somehow or want to be detected earlier. So it depends on their maybe a kind of confidence or pride or any, so difficult issues. But whether we prefer or not, and so some, for example, tech companies collect physiological data without almost any consent, or maybe with their products they mention that they collect data and may analyze, and so with using smartwatch or even the kind of smartphone app. And then so they collect already a lot of data. And so with research progresses, and we might be able to, estimate their functioning, psychological functioning, cognitive functioning already can be predicted or estimated. And so that's a reality, but we need to make clear the more explicit consensus or explicit, consent and usage or applicable, so how to be applied, and it should be more saved. And that's another context of CODATA and so IDW issue of maybe we need some kind of, more rules or way of manner of sharing, and so that's the topic. So do you have any comments? Okay,
Yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, we have enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so Mr. Bubakar from Tohoku University, Japan. So, I'm also doing the same study using what we call real-world data. I mean, data from various sources to apply to diabetes. So it's a bit different with your target, but anyway, so it's all related to health data analysis. Well, so of course, real-world data can have an impact or can, have some insight about our health. And I think the biggest problem is how can we collect those data from, the patient or from anyone. I think it's need to have agreement between, peoples who are willing to share their, let's say, real-world data from a device like smartphone or, smartwatch, and so on. And it's somehow challenging and very difficult. Me, in my research, collecting data from the patients, of course, with their agreement. And sometimes they don't collaborate, like, you have to trigger getting your steps every day. Sometimes they forget, but the solution I did is to, give some, let's say, because it's an application, so once you register some of the data or you trigger, you will receive kind of, animation saying like thank you or dancing with you, something like that, and it motivates them to always every morning, trigger the steps or the sleepings and so on. And for now, I think what we are going to do in the next future is to see how really we can collaborate for each person to share their, daily activity data only for research purpose. I think it's a new, let's say, way for us to dig in the, the real world data to see what we can discover, mainly
definitely.
for the, for research purpose.
Also for this generation that is coming, that will age in the future, since we are usually like checking our daily like step count or any other data on our wearable devices or like
Correct.
smartwatch. So probably with this knowledge and having the data from our current state as, let's say, young people, not elderly yet, in the future maybe having the access to these data may be also very useful to see the prevalence of aging.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This morning, previous session, there was a digital twin for healthcare discussion were in the another room, and so so we might have many different kinds of digital twins, and in the context of clinical or more daily life, and and how to be utilized or merged, or and so some of them will be open, some of them will be closed, and. Yes, that's a very hot topic, and how to manage this data. Yeah, so we have to rest, but maybe just
maybe
scan.
because
So maybe
I
go
really
on.
I really don't want you to miss on the delicious
lunch.
food that we have outside.
So just distribute,
this session should like enrich you. And another topic that we prepared is the culturally connected recommendations. Yeah, so this actually we really discussed here. So the last would be the equity and inclusion in cognitive health. So if you're also interested to leave us a note about this, the last topic, you can also scan the QR code and share your thoughts with us. If not, then I would like to really thank you for participating in our session. I think it was really, I took lots of notes, and it was really beneficial for us for the future drafting of the recommendations. So I saw, Otake-sensei, you distributed a paper with the questionnaire, QR code. So really, we will be very, very grateful to you if you could give us the time to answer to these questions, as your input is really valuable and will definitely make a change. And of course, please leave us our contacts. So if we write the recommendations, hopefully, of course, we would like to reach out to you. Maybe we can be, co-authors. So very looking much forward to future, like working with you and learning from each other, from the diverse cultures that we come from, and we live in different cities. So to inspire each other for a cognitively healthy life. So for this session, I would like to once again thank you for participating, for joining. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So I wish you a very delicious lunch, healthy lunch, and see you still around. Thank you so much.